Hey everybody, Jason Bermas here, and a jury has now ruled that Alex Jones is on the hook for almost $50 million. Let me repeat that. $50 million. 45.2 today, and yesterday it was 4.1. Now, some people are telling me that Texas has a cap on punitive damages. Punitive damages are the 45 plus million dollars. I have not looked into whether or not that is the case. A lot of people think that Alex Jones will have this reduced on appeal. That is certainly a possibility. But let's talk about this, and please get your questions and comments inside the YouTube stream as we do this live. First of all, the ruling itself reminds me of a Mike Myers, Austin Powers, Dr. Evil figure. You might as well said $100 million or $1 billion. And this sets an awful precedent. Whether you love Alex Jones or you hate Alex Jones, this is a true blow to free speech, in my opinion. Now, I happened to have a lot of disagreements at the time of Sandy Hook with the coverage that Alex Jones and Infowars gave that event. So what? So what? I still believe you will have the right to say what you want, okay, and to challenge narratives no matter how repulsive or disgusting others may think that opinion is. I can't tell you how many times I was personally approached by people in an angry and violent fashion because they didn't agree with me about 9/11. Free speech is free speech, and we do have defamation laws for a reason. All right, let me get that out of the way. I felt like had Alex actually had a fair trial, in other words, one in which he was not defaulted, I believe in most cases, depending on the jury selection, of course, that he probably would have lost the case and had to pay out some punitive damages. Now, I always imagined that if that were the case, probably $10 million max. Max. And by the way, I think there are some real questions about Shady Hook that need to be examined. One of the things I never went with, and you can go back over a decade now of my coverage, or around a decade, occurred in 2012, but about a year afterwards, we got a huge data dump. Now, there was a lot of censored material, but at the same time, there was unreleased video footage and then PDF files, which contained pictures of not only the crime scene at the school itself, but at the Lanza home where Adam Lanza allegedly murdered his mother. And I remember going through those documents. I remember looking at Lanza's mother's bedroom and the bullets on the ground and what I thought was a lack of blood. Now, that doesn't mean I don't think she was killed there. I was just looking at this and being like, okay, well, this is different. Now, at the same time, there were so many things blacked out. And then there was a lot of stuff that went through his home. It showed his video game systems. It even showed an identification card. But the most interesting thing of that data dump to me, anyway, was the fact that not only did you have these raw videos, but if you looked at the raw videos, it seemed like some of the teachers especially had been targeted, as their cars in particular, which were in the parking lot among many, were shot up. Okay? They were shot up for one reason or another. I can't tell you why. What I can tell you is that, again, and I've covered it, that there is police audio out there. If you'd like to see my coverage of it, I would say that you have to look up Alex Jones and Deep Research, or Jason Bermas and Deep Research. Shady Hook is in the thumbnail. They were chasing people who were dressed up as nuns after the incident in a purple van as they headed towards Danbury, Connecticut. It's a fact. Now, you can talk about the video footage of the people who were running in the woods and appear to have been stopped by law enforcement. You can go back to the original report of somebody being detained in one of the police cars, and even the parents, going past that police car, and that person saying, I didn't do it, I had nothing to do with this. The initial reports that the people who were let inside, for instance, were dressed up as clergy. The fact that if you looked on the outside of Lanza's car, there were either two sweatshirts or black shawls on the ground, and several of the doors remained open. These are just some of the anomalies. That, and what I found really bizarre, is while you had the reports of clergy and then the nuns that were being chased out, you also had the fact, I believe it was Clive Cussler, I may be getting the last name wrong, but you had this multi-million-dollar preacher, this evangelist, whose church was immediately activated and then showed up on the scene sometimes before the majority of the law enforcement got there to further confuse the situation. Real questions. Now, some of the things I dismissed out of hand, for instance, were that people said that not only the crisis actor theory, which I thought was totally and completely Johnny nonsense, but that the coroner was somehow lying because people were clipping out of like an hour plus press conference that he gave, these awkward moments where he would laugh. And all I can say is I watched the entire thing. He looked very disturbed. He looked like he had seen some horrific things, and those uncomfortable laughs he was giving were probably just a natural reaction to the insanity and disturbing nature of the event that he had just witnessed. Yet, what happened? The vast majority of what was being put out on the internet at a time, by the way, in 2012, when every single celebrity death was the Illuminati. Remember that? Everybody that was dying in that time period, they were saying, Robin Williams and Paul, I forget his last name, but he was in the Fast and Furious, Paul Walker, all Illuminati hits. And there were legitimate fake news websites out there that were just making shit up. Let me say that again. They were just making shit up. And every once in a while, I still see these quotations that originate from some of these sites. For instance, there is a Nicole Kidman quote that sometimes I see in memes and being passed around about how she talked to Stanley Kubrick, and Stanley Kubrick told her it was high-level pedophiles that ran the world. Doesn't exist. Not a real quote at all. At all. And I would find that my friends that many people would refer to as normies, people I went to high school or college with, would often send me stuff from those type of sites. And especially in the case of Sandy Hook, it was that crisis actor narrative that was being pushed. And let me tell you why they push that thing. All right. They push it because they know the moment you start saying kids didn't die and the entire thing is a hoax, you can be completely discredited. Completely discredited. Okay? And, Alex has now admitted he believes the event was 100% real. I thought it was 100% real out of the gates. Despite that, I think in no way, shape, or form should this ruling and this judgment have been made. We have 2 more cases to go. And I'm not sure how much protection Alex is going to have, even with the filings of bankruptcy with the majority of his companies and now the main company, Free Speech Systems LLC, which was the parent company of Infowars even when I worked there. Frankly, I'm upset because I like Harrison Smith. I think a lot of the staff provides a valid viewpoint. Okay, I like more media operations, more voices. Jones and I have butted heads on many a thing, including Trump. I mean, that's something that's real. I don't love everything Donald Trump. And I do think there have been occasions where he's not only been soft on Trump, but a cheerleader for Trump when he should have been holding his feet to the fire. So what? So what? That doesn't mean you go for the jugular and you try to eviscerate Alex Jones, Infowars, and what I would say is free speech and freedom of the press. Now, I would almost say that this is a soft Assanging. What do I mean by that? Well, obviously, Alex Jones was not put into a prison, did not have to flee the country under false rape allegations like Julian did from his own country, okay? But they're going at it from every single angle. Instead of putting Jones in prison and trying to make him into a martyr, what are they trying to do? They're trying to establish a system where if any media outlet questions a great narrative, if you will, they will put them out of business, if not criminalize it. Now, these are my feelings on the matter. I'm sure that a lot of you out there are going to have differing opinions, and that's why this is an Ask Me Anything. Get your questions and comments in over at YouTube, and let's start going down the line. By the way, guys, thumbs it up. We got almost 250 people watching, not even 100 thumbs up. We're 68,000 strong. 68,000 strong subscribers here, and guess what? We can barely get 100 people on a live stream last night. And that's the type of algorithmic censorship that this big tech, big government, media, military, industrial complex has instituted so that you can't question their great narratives. And that's the truth. That's something that we need to look at. All right, so let's do it. Let's go down the line. Dark Hoses says, I have that AJ shirt that he's wearing in there, the Space Force. And, you know, I think that's one of the things that Alex could do a better job on, is talking about how Space Force is really just the extension of what the Air Force has already done, that NASA is very much so a front for the military-industrial complex, and what? That guys like Elon Musk aren't the best thing since breakfast. I think that he should be harder on Musk. Absolutely. But I think he should be able to broadcast. And I'm worried, quite frankly. You tell me what the better media outlets are other than Infowars.com. And again, the bar has been lowered so much that when I think of media organizations, I'm always looking at them with a grain of salt all the time, right? It's like, yeah, you know, Fox News is a little bit better than MSNBC and CNN, but not much. Not much by a long shot. Tucker Carlson does a good job, but he's still very much stuck in the right-left paradigm. He refuses to acknowledge that the war on terror was really started via what? A international intelligence operation, not guys with box cutters and Al-Qaeda and Bin Laden station. No. That's a small part, again, of an international intelligence operation that involved Pakistani intelligence, the Israeli Mossad, okay, U.S. intelligence and their continuity of government program, and a global media that acted like lapdogs and never, ever dared to question the validity of 9/11 until guys like myself came along with loose change. Even Alex Jones, give him the credit, he questioned 9/11 well before Jason Bermas did. Well before Jason Bermas did. Period. And we have to acknowledge these things. Tyler Durden is a stupid name. He says capped at about 13.5 million, but it's a nice headline for the MSM media ghouls. See, I really thought that again, you know, going back quite a while, if you watch my videos on this, my opinion really hasn't changed. I thought that they would probably find him guilty, and I thought the tune to like $10 million, which is not chump change, by the way. $50 million just doesn't even seem like a real number to a guy like Jason Bermas. Like, can you imagine if you had $50 million in front of you in like $100 bill stacks? You might as well be Scrooge motherfucking McDuck. I mean, my goodness. It's ridiculous. So let's keep going down here. 1.5 mil is the cap, according to Barnes on there today. That's what he's saying? Doable. Man, look at this. It doesn't, oh, there we go. There's the big jump. Been having a lot of issues on the road, guys. So I hope that you appreciate it. And by the way, I need your support now more than ever. The links are down below. Consider buying me a coffee or supporting me via Rockfin, $9.99 a month or $99.99 for the year. I actually got a pretty awesome Tipski and Hutch, by the way. I want to say that right now. Okay? I always love thanking the audience because without you guys, I couldn't do this, period. So, Donna L. Joy, thanks, Jason. You are the best. That's a $10 tip. Joe Cohen, good luck on the road. Would love to do an interview with Jeff Nyquist on the China war ambitions research. Fascinating guy. I'm not really familiar with him, but please send him my way. I'll go on. And I saw last night somebody saying, Jason, you need to get on a podcast tour. You need to go on this show or that show. Number one, I don't ask to go on shows, ever. I'm not a beggar. Number two, I'll go on anybody's show, period. Like, there's nobody I say no to unless they're coming at me from a dishonest perspective. Then I could do without it. I could do without the clout chasers that want to make their name off of Jason Bermas, and not really Jason Bermas. They want to make their name off the mythos of Alex Jones and Infowars because Jason Bermas was involved. And that's a real thing. That $50 tip, Brandy Neese, thank you so much. Rebecca Brown, Mary Erickson, Darcy Clark, Tammy B, Christina Castello, and Martelsini, among many others. Thank you guys so much for supporting this broadcast. And again, I'd like to be doing several of these videos a day. Hopefully the quality's okay. Different cameras. I'm seeing some stutter steps over there. I'm hoping it's coming in nice and smooth. Okay. Bad thing is, it sets the case for people being sued for having an opinion opposed to the narrative. Correct. AJ is just the test. If they could get away with this shit correctly. Look, I said it like this. Big tech, which again are Trojan horse civilian systems working hand in hand with the military industrial complex. Make no mistake about it. Google, started by In-Q-Tel, the taxpayer-funded arm of the CIA that invests in tech companies. It has partnered with NASA, okay? Achieved quantum supremacy in 2019. Is all into their artificial intelligence. Get with the program. These people are acting like, oh, it's the Technopoly. No. It's beyond the Technopoly. The Technopoly is part of the military-industrial complex. Okay? So when they're censoring and they're putting out narratives like this, and then they take Alex Jones and say, you're banned from Twitter, you're banned from Facebook, you're banned from YouTube. That's why I said Google. Again, Google, the #1 search engine in the world. YouTube, the #2 search engine in the world. YouTube, the #1 video platform in the world. We're still here by the skin of our nuts. In fact, in 10 days, we're supposed to lose a strike. But since they just go back in time and just pick a random video and give me a strike and then let me stay on after banning me for 2 weeks, they kind of get to silence me. And that cripples my ability to reach people, cripples my ability to tell the truth on a platform that has millions of people watching cat videos. Okay? Let's see. Stop Hoaxing's a staged event. He can pay the judgment with monopoly money. I don't think the court case is staged at all. Yeah, I've spent time with these people. That's another really weird thing that everybody thinks that Alex is, I've heard it all. Alex is controlled opposition. Alex is a Jesuit agent. Alex is Mossad. This is a real judgment against him. Okay? If he was really any of those things, did you, my buddy who got a kick out of this, he actually got to meet Alex once down in New York City. I think it was right around the 5th anniversary of 9/11. And we were all kind of sitting around or whatever. And there was a moment where one of the lawyers, not the bearded redhead, the clean-shaven guy or somewhat clean-shaven guy with glasses, is talking about Alex Jones and Sandy Hook and, who people think killed the kids. And Jones gets so riled up, he kind of like gets up a little bit and like somebody behind him has to push his shoulder down. And my buddy James, he got a kick out of that. That's real. That's not an act. That's Alex's instincts in action. Okay, that's really him not being able to control himself, probably because of the anger he has surrounding the entire thing. Just my opinion. You go watch it yourself. Alex Jones gets up, during trial or tries to stand up. It's minuscule. He doesn't get 6 inches off of his seat before he's pushed down. But that's real. It's not an act. Okay? I don't believe it's an act. I don't think anything that's going on is an act right now. Let's see. Guess hurting people's feelings and being sued is by First Amendment by the First Amendment for everyone. So are the mainstream going to be held to the same since they made money off dead kids and pushing an agenda? Never. Never. That's just not the way it works. The mainstream media are an extension of the alphabet agencies and the predator class narrative. Nothing more. Nothing more. And you can get them every once in a while. Kyle Rittenhouse, gonna get them. They said some bad things. MAGA hat, school trip kid, he got a big payday. You know why? Because they started spouting off that he was some kind of KKK white supremacist. Even though that's their talking point, okay, you can still get them on that. But then when you do, they don't want it to go to trial. They will settle, and then you'll have to sign an NDA and basically have to shut your mouth. It's bizarre, I know. It's weird. It's weird how things work. They can tell you about Al-Qaeda and how Al-Qaeda, right, and bin Laden were working with Saddam Hussein for dirty bombs. Remember that? And the weapons of mass destruction. Total Johnny nonsense. Imagination land. They're not held to the standard of reality. They can tell you Ayman al-Zawahiri has been killed several times, that he can put out videos and basically talk about the anniversary of 9/11 20 years later. And then Zombie J, who couldn't order a drone strike if he wanted to, because he doesn't even... You think that Joe Biden knows, what our drone warfare is like? You think he can name a single plane that's up there? You think he could even articulate Global Hawk technology at this point? The guy is spending most of the day trying to not get poopy on his legs from shitting himself. That's the reality. He runs nothing. He knows less. And the media is like, yeah, we got a terrorist. We got him. We got him. Give me a break. Hunter is still free to smoke crack and film the evidence. Listen, Hunter Biden and smoking crack are like the least of my concerns compared to all the war crimes I consider he and his father and the gang responsible for. I was talking to Mark Dice yesterday, and I just brought up, I go, dude, we're living in such a cartoon world that they propped up an actor, Zelensky, as the leader after an intelligence coup. Then they brought in the crooked Biden family that had all sorts of dealings that we know took place via the laptop in that country. We have a sitting president who, again, after Alex Jones was banned, all of a sudden it got to the president could be banned. Again, whether you like Donald Trump or not, you don't ban the president from social media. Think about how insane that is. And think about how different from the norm that is our entire life when the president has had media Muppet mouthpieces praising their agenda, no matter how grotesque or absurd, the vast majority of the time, and barely challenging them. Instead, we're just going to ban him, right? Ban hammer. You get it? That's where we're at. So you have that same guy, the president here, banned. You have Jones banned. And you have a big tech system that is banning any narrative they don't like. Remember, it started with the COVID 1984 nightmare, and I promise you it will end with the new WHO UN declaration that there's an infinite amount of genders, and if you don't agree because the science says otherwise, you're going to be kicked off these platforms too. I give that one about 18 months. And in 18 months, I don't know how this broadcast is still here, and that's why I want you to be on Podbean. I want you to be on Rockfin. I want you to be on Rumble. You know, that's why I give away all my stuff for free. All right. Big Brother always getting bigger, correct. Trumped up kangaroo court and a show trial. We're getting a lot of those these days. What a scam. 150 is what I heard. 150 million is what they were seeking in the beginning. Again, if you're just tuning in, they ruled on 4.1 in damages yesterday, and then punitive damages today, 45.2, reaching the crescendo of almost $50 million. Bermas says it's going to be capped at $1.5 million. I don't know if that's the case, but I guess we're going to find out. You know, one of the other really weird things about this trial that I think people really should be thinking about is the fact that number one, you have this bombshell, if you will, come out like earlier in the week where the prosecutors said they had every single text and phone call from Jones of the past 12 years. Now, you go back 12 years, I was at Infowars until May of 2010. That's right in my realm. And I certainly was talking to Alex after I left. I don't know what my text messages would look like from 12 years ago. I'm sure there's a lot of things I said that I forgot about. Then they have him on the stand. They're talking about this 12 years. It later comes out that it seems like they only have 2 years of this data. Then that data, instead of being thrown out or sealed, is given to the FBI for yet another show trial, the January 6th show trial, where they talk about the private communications between Roger Stone and Alex Jones. Let me explain something to you. They already had the private communications between Roger Stone and Alex Jones. Anything they wanted, they have, because we've been in a track, trace, database society pre 9/11. It's called Norris Insight Systems and secret server rooms. You don't believe that Alex Jones's phones and his associates' phones are tapped on the next level? What planet are you on? So now what they'll do is they'll go through these text messages, right? It won't just be the upper echelons of the agencies that are spying on Jones and others. They'll give them to Liz Cheney and the gang, and there'll be headline after headline after headline of some of these conversations that I'm sure are going to be locker room talk, tawdry in nature, sarcastic, smarmy. But you know what they're not going to show? That Roger Stone and Alex Jones planned an insurrection at the Capitol, because that's made up. That's not real. That's Johnny Nonsense. What up, Bermas? Dalton Schultz, thank you so much for joining the broadcast. They are throwing the book at him. They're going beyond the book. Let me say that. Beyond the book. They have been trying every card in the book to go after him. This is it. My man Tyler Durden is a stupid name, says Texas caps it. We got people saying witch trials. Just for the record, do you have any conflicts of interest? LOL. My man Spiro's in here. I don't really have any conflicts of interest. Like, you look at what I opened the show with and how I said the disagreements were there. I haven't gotten a check from Infowars since, God, it's maybe 2013 would probably be maybe the last check I got on any of the movies I made. I'm not currently employed at Infowars. I have no deal on what I can say when I host the show. Believe it or not, folks, again, I get a phone call or a text messages like an hour before the show starts, usually around 10 to 10:30 a.m. Central Time. Hey, can you do the 4th hour? That's it. That's all I get. There is no, hey, we'd like you to cover this subject, or please don't talk about this, or the check's in the mail. There is no check for Jason Bermas. I would be honored to substitute host for a number of programs, or go on a number of programs and be able to talk. Think about it this way. Do I get a larger audience anywhere else when I am discussing the realities of transhumanism? The last time that I was on Jones, prior to the Bohemian Grove, again, which no one told me what I could or couldn't do. I'm wearing my little owl Bohemian Grove-esque shirt. Notice the skull and bones is below it. Right now, by the way, with the all-seeing eye at the top. And I would say, other than maybe Mark Dice, who covered it this year, and thank you for doing that, Mark, that would be the largest audience that got to hear about Bohemian Grove 2022. When Alex had me on the time before that, I was listening to the broadcast. I wasn't quite sure what I was going to be talking about, whether I was going to be getting deep state or continuity of government or signature reduction. He started talking about the post-human world. And God bless him, I didn't feel like he articulated it enough with evidence and news clips, right? So what did I do? I found the evidence, I found the news clips, and I spent my 40 minutes going, yes, Alex was talking about this because it's real. So, by the way, folks, if you guys don't know who Spiro is, he also did incredible work during the COVID-19 84 nightmare and continues to do incredible work via the fourth industrial revolution and this post-human future that the predator class would like to bring in. And I think he's on his probably either his 3rd or 4th Twitter account. So he's definitely worth a follow. I just want to throw that out there. That's crazy. They kicked him off of social media. Now lawfare. Correct. What is the future of I don't know what the future of Infowars is. I have no idea. I think it's sad. I thought it was 4 million. Again, 4.1 million yesterday, an additional $45.2 million today. Just, I think, within the last few hours, that ruling came in. Somebody saying $13 million cap. Did I work for Jones in 2012? I think I just answered that. I did not. In fact, I was sending the Infowars crew, specifically Aaron Dykes, who I feel does amazing work outside of Infowars, by the way. He and his wife, Melissa, TruthStream Media, top-notch stuff. But, our private conversations, and I'm just going to let people in on it, that, my evidence, the stuff that I was talking about was, brought to the big man, and he didn't want to touch that stuff. And I think that, he's talked about it openly, that at that point he was thinking that everything was a conspiracy, and basically he wasn't looking hard enough at some of the things that were real anomalies but didn't involve this false narrative of crisis actors, etc. And Dyke said, they didn't want to touch my stuff. Okay. Well, at the time, I was doing work for IntelliHub. That's the Shepard Ambellis outfit. And we were putting together Shade the Motion Picture. So, on top of the Sandy Hook stuff, I was concerned with making what I think is one of my best, if not my best film, Shade the Motion Picture. They just want to salad him so they can tell some of the sneaky stuff the government is doing. I don't know what that means, American Patriot, but I read it. It's to shut him down for good. This is the largest. This is a target on a journalist's back. $500 trillion. You Decide says, we love Jason Bermas. Well, I love you guys. I love you all. That was the first charge. 45 million the second. Yes. Fake news. Oh, there was plenty of fake news back in the day. In the state of Texas, there is a cap. It'll be a quarter of that. Yes, they added the 45 million today. Smith trying to line you up, Jason. Who's that? Who's trying to line me up? I don't know. Yes, they just want to shut him down and warn other people not to question their false flags. Matt, are you in here? 45 million. Wahahaha. That's a lot. I mean, it's just, exactly. It's crazy. It's crazy. That trial was disgusting. Can't believe this is America. Kangaroo court by every measure. Judgment cast with no fair trial. Spiro from Monty, LOL. What about the right-wing people who got money from CNN and stuff? Indian Smile Kid. I just told you that. We don't know how much he got. I don't think he got $50 million, right? But now, first of all, let's look at the differences, all right? Number one, that kid's face was all over the place. I mean, they were playing that clip again and again. His name was all over the place. The school that he went to was all over the place. In the case of the Sandy Hook defamation against Jones, Jones never mentioned one of the parents or children by name until after he was sued. Again, that's not an excuse for his coverage. I'm just pointing that out in the defamation. Two, like I said, he didn't want it to go to trial. So yeah, look, there, like I said, I think Rittenhouse is going to win big. I think that the mainstream media can sometimes get caught, but not on a large scale. They have to name an individual and they have to defame them. That's what defamation is. Before Rob Dew and I got back together in that interview at the free speech event that Alex put on that was largely for Roger Stone, but ended up talking a lot about Julian Assange, we had kind of a spat over, whether or not he was going to, be found guilty on this. And another person I respect, my man Front Row Brian, we had it back and forth. I said, look, man, there are defamation laws for a reason. And I think that there will be a trial and there will probably be some type of payout. I never imagined that this would be a default case where you are found guilty and not until proven innocent, guilty and impossible for you to be found innocent. That's wild. That's wild sauce. And these numbers, wild. Let's see. Yep. What was his supposed crime? Again, it was a defamation case. The parents, I don't want to say that, making themselves rich on their kid's grave just doesn't seem right any way you cut it. Look, I'll say this. I don't think there's a parent out there that would say, give me the money over my kid. I think that every single one of those parents would much rather be at, for instance, driving their kid this year to their freshman year of college than being in court with Alex Jones. I just want to put that out here. I'm not going after the parents because you ask any parent, okay, and their kids are the world. Their kids are the world, and they should be, because they are special. They are a reflection of how great humanity can be. The innocence of a child is a big deal, all right? And, I mean, I can't even imagine a world where I'm around and my nieces aren't. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if I would ever recover from something like that. I don't know if it's possible. And I can tell you this right now, there's certainly no monetary amount that would make me want that to happen. None. If if I had to be a grave digger and a shit shoveler the rest of my life to ensure the safety of my nieces, I would. Wouldn't even be a question. Wouldn't be. I'd be waking up early in the morning, getting out there, digging away, and shoveling away. Period. Let's not bring Monty into the stream, whatever that means. 9/11, okay, what was that? 9/11 has a long list of issues. We, the people, demand the truth in all things. And again, props to Trump for when he was asked about the Saudi involvement in 9/11. And listen, that's another, I didn't mention them, but yeah, there was Saudi funding of some of the frontmen terrorists and the networks that they utilized, for sure. But he was right when he said, nobody's really gotten to the bottom of 9/11, and they should have by now. No kidding. No kidding. FYI, Brain Force works, but you need to freebase it off of a tinfoil hat. We got jokes. We got jokes, folks. Funny, funny jokes. He had a wrong opinion, but took it back at least 6 years ago. Why? What's wrong with Monty? I have no idea the inside baseball of Spiro and Monty or any of that, my friend. Let's see. This was all done as a show. I remember the day, and SH was more like the most recent shooting in Texas. Just saying. The guy running in the woods, the cops sitting outside for hours. And again, the clergy actually beating them there. I want to, like, that should be discussed. How is it a bunch of nuns can get there before the police? It's just bizarre. Well, they have learned the way to silence everyone. Elon was live yesterday till the video got banned. What does that tell you? Where was Elon live? What was he talking about? And where did he get banned? DM me that information over on Twitter at Jason Bermas, because that's a story that I would like to cover. In fact, stories that I'm going to be covering, guys. I recently watched the Tom DeLonge Steve-O podcast. I actually like Steve-O's podcast. I think it's really solid. I've watched a few of them. Bill Burr would be one. I think Mike Tyson, I watched a little section. But I was really interested in Tom DeLonge and To the Stars Academy. And I think DeLonge is still getting a lot of things wrong, right? Because when he was talking about the WikiLeaks and the fact that he was in emails with John Podesta, he said Russian hack. Dude, there's no Russian hack. That's like, there was no hack. The information was downloaded. It was put onto a USB stick. It wasn't hacked. That's the whole thing. And I think that DeLonge gets a lot more of it right than I had first given him credit for. But I also think he's being strung along by these Mirage Men. And I would encourage everybody to go check out the documentary Mirage Men immediately. At the same time, he mentioned some new Douglas MacArthur documents about UFOs. Now, the Black Vault, that does a great job, almost as good a job as, say, Cryptome, who's done a great job of publishing documents that even WikiLeaks wasn't publishing about them earlier. But there was a new document dump, I believe, back in May or June. And I'm reading those documents. We're going to do a full throttle on them. I mean, we're talking about late 1960s physics theories, propulsion systems, the type of stuff that we talk about as legitimate technology that is being hidden from the public for warfare purposes. Can't wait to do that broadcast, but there's a lot of studying up I'm going to have to do as there's a slew of documents. But I really enjoyed that. And, you know, it makes me want to have, you know, a 1 to 2 hour conversation with Tom DeLonge where I can kind of put him on the spot, but let him speak. I think, you know, it's easy to dismiss him because he's a rock star, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that he's involved with some of the wrong people, but I think that his heart is in the right place. And unlike the vast majority of people that have an opinion on the subject, he's done an extensive amount of research. Absolutely. I mean, I feel like I've done an extensive amount of research on the subject. We've come to some different conclusions. But one of the things that always strikes me when he talks is that he talks about the fact that he figured something out and he would say something and then whoever, whatever government official or insider he's talking to plays off of that. Very Mirage Man. Let's see. My man Spiro says, I'm cool with Jason. I've always wanted to get Spiro on. He's somebody that I haven't gotten on, but I'll tell you what, Spiro, you better come on if I do a 24 and 24 again, which is coming. You know, I think right after I do this traveling, I've got a lot of things going on in my life where I might have to move my house. I'm not moving from Iowa or anything like that, but I may have to get out of my place now that my sister and the 2 kids have found somewhere else. I was trying, as I talked to other people, I was trying to work for one of these other media organizations out there. So far, that's fallen through. They said get back at them in a few months. We'll see about that. But I'm still pushing forward. And I'd love to have you on sometime. And now that we can look at COVID 1984 in retrospect, do an hour together and really lay it down for people. Because, again, I really think that Spiro's done some great work out there. We need to be able to publicly ask questions. 1A for all. 50 million. What the mother truck? Exactly. It was just a Bitcoin live. It was just a Bitcoin live. I don't know what that means. Oh, he was doing... Elon was doing a Bitcoin live and they cut him off? Someone has to show me that. Used to be subbed to you back in the day. So John Frank, you're not subbed anymore? What happened? Did you unsub? Did they unsub you? Happens all the time. No, thank you, Spiro. We love what you do. Hid crime and emotional damage, they are claiming, so hurt feelings. We all know the truth. The difference is we're afraid to say it. Let's see. We got someone saying plenty Spiro. Let's keep going down the line here. Yes, there were many suspicious things at Shady Hook. I totally agree. None ya business, says Tyler. He's got the jokes today. Why would his mom buy Alien Boy weapons? I think there's a lot to his mother. Of course, his father worked for the military-industrial complex. And remember, at first, they were naming Lanza's brother as well. There's a lot of weird anomalies. A lot of weird anomalies. And like I said, I think there's a lot of evidence that points to more than one shooter and people being targeted. You know, dare I say that? Is that wrong of me to ask? I'm certainly not trying to degrade the parents or the children that died. I'd actually like to know what happened and know that people are going to be brought to justice. I think that's important. But that's just me. That's just me. I remember seeing the Google cache of the donation site up days before the event. You know, I saw a lot of that weird stuff too, but, you know, what's photoshopped, what's real, what was the real fake news stories that were out there, because there were plenty of them. There was plenty of crisis actor bullshit all over the place. We've got to acknowledge that. CBS News reported that. That's cool. Let's see. Good Spiro. It was an FF in the fact that certain things didn't add up. Certain newscasts were bizarre footage, the men in the woods, and the overall narrative. I saw the report of the guy in the car. That was in the Newton Bee, the local paper. It was always going to happen one day. Western governments were used to full control pre-internet era. Clear alien hybrid. I don't know what that means. Anyone remember Balloon Boy? You mean the kid that was supposedly taken away in a balloon and that was just a total hoax? Yeah, I remember that. Never happened. Defending Alex Jones getting a fair trial per our constitutional Bill of Rights is standing up for the rights of each of us. I agree. I am in total agreement on that. Maybe Alex should have been more sympathetic with the parents who lost their kids. I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with that either. And again, I think that he's acknowledged that, right? How many times does somebody have to say they're sorry? Now, that doesn't mean, again, they're going to get it right, or they should just, what they said or did beforehand should just be forgotten. But is there a path for redemption? Does that matter? Will any journalistic outfit be 100% correct when they are analyzing events? I'd say no, it's going to be impossible. I remember when they burned Dan Rather. who I'm no big fan of Dan Rather, but he put out that fake document, and all of a sudden he was completely discredited and a pariah after being like 30 years of America's newsman. It's weird how that works, because he started speaking out against the war in Iraq. Can't do that. Let's see. CBS News reported that Alex had to pay $4 million. Yeah, but now it's more. They had SH kids at a football game walking around the field. That's not true. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. I've seen those videos and those claims. A lot of those kids had brothers and sisters. And it's absolutely ridiculous. Like, this is what I'm talking about, that this type of misinformation is still out there a decade plus later, and people are buying into it. I saw all the videos. I saw all the proof. I saw the Robbie Parker walkout thing. And yeah, that Robbie Parker walkout thing was really bizarre. It was really weird. But to me, that didn't constitute what was being thrown around, which I thought was obvious disinformation to create a scenario like the one we now have. Just saying. Isn't that enough? Funny Guy Carver. Again, listen, you go watch that Wayne Carver full deal. I'm sure you can find it. The full press conference. And not just a cut up 2-minute clip show where they took the worst moments. It was rough. It was rough, man. No questions allowed. Sorry. Drain the swamp and replace it with a beautiful lake. I love beautiful lakes. By the way, 346 people watch and only 231 thumbs up. Let's thumbs it up, subscribe, and share. And remember, I am a documentary filmmaker. Loose Change, Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order to Find, and Shade the Motion Picture are free right here, right now. And just last week, they took down one of my Shade watch-alongs for medical misinformation. How much longer are you going to be able to see that documentary? Rockfin tip, Tom Dedamore, new Iowa citizen. By the way, Tom, I know that you're back in New Jersey with your kids. I just saw one of your social media posts. I hope you're enjoying yourself and having a great rest of the summer. And I know that you've been enjoying Iowa. Personally, I love the state, and I'm glad to call it home, and I'm glad that you made that jump as well. Tom says, let's see, mainstream media just wants everyone to choke on their narrative. They can't handle alternative opinions. There is a pattern with all these shootings, but powers that be don't want to get the real answers. My man. AJ has the right and responsibility to question it all. Where the F up was going to their houses, almost stalking. So let's talk about people's houses. As far as I know, Alex Jones never went to anybody's house. Okay, he never bullhorned any family members. Now, I know there's the Dan Bidandi stuff out there. I don't know whether Bidandi was, I don't believe Bidandi was working for Infowars at the time. I've seen Bidandi speak. I would say that if you were going to go after somebody for approaching family members, etc., why didn't they go after Bidandi? Because it wasn't about the actions of the few. It was about Alex Jones as a popular media figure and his takedown, right? And I've never talked to Bidandi. I don't know Bidandi. But I've seen some of his interviews and I've heard him speak. I'm not trying to be mean, but he doesn't seem like he's, the sharpest tool in the shed. You know what I'm saying? You get what I'm coming from? And that's not to say, hey, Jason Bermas is brilliant or Jason Bermas is a genius. Plenty of people smarter than me. But there's a spectrum of intelligence, folks. Okay? We need to acknowledge that. Not everybody is as smart as another person, as articulate as another person. Just putting that out there. Wrong think, $50 million fine. People are entitled to their opinion even if you don't like it. Let's see. Hill was cut. What does that mean? I don't believe the BS story either. The new precedent will be used against all of us, just like last time. Correct. Spiro gets it correct. Looked like a ghost went into the devil's den. Okay. The coroner looked like an actor with a costume on. No. Wayne Carver was not an actor. He never looked like an actor. He didn't look like he had a costume on. So no, Doug. No. I agree with Spiro. What's this one say? Let's see. Keep your stupid, offensive opinions to yourself, creep. We'll hit the show on that. Okay, Rampart, that's nice. You love it when you bring people in to troll. Everybody's allowed to have an opinion. Robbie, what's his name? And, well, that's your opinion. I don't know that that's the case. I dug into Sandy Hook for weeks. It became very clear this incident. I disagree. Nope. You didn't. You looked at the wrong things. Let me ask you something. Okay, Matt's Ingolda Dad 1. Did you get the data dump that they gave you in 2013 of all the raw material? Much of it blacked out. Much of the video footage and the cam footage of the cop cars blacked out for sure. But did you watch the available material? I know that it took me, I didn't even read all of it, didn't go through every PDF file, certainly sped through a lot of the video. Okay? I didn't even look at all of it. I guarantee you I did 10 times the actual research you did. Easily. So stop it. Stop with your bullshit. You watch some documentaries, you watch some YouTube videos, you went to some fake news sites that were also perplexing. And listen, again, there were anomalies. But until you look at the raw stuff, don't tell me that you know what happened. I've never claimed that I know what happened. I've never claimed that. I believe there's more to the story. That's all. Let's see. Jan Johnson, the NSA is trying to get the social media platforms to crack down more on people sharing opinions that shows their weakness is us. I agree. People power. I just remember the Maya shit in 2012 and legal weed. There's another one out there. Let's scroll up for that. Let me give you some examples of some of the things that after I left Alex Jones, I got offered. True TV still had their conspiracy theory show on, and they were running a 2012 episode, and they called me like 3 times, and they constantly wanted me to talk about how it was going to be the end of the world and the Mayan prophecies. And I go, that's not real. I'm like, that's not going to happen. I go, the day after December 20th or December 12th, 2020, whatever it was, we're all still going to be here. And they didn't put me on. And, I was approached for another show that never happened, which I would have found more interesting. It was like this pilot program called Ancient Tomorrow. And we were going to supposedly go through Egypt and other areas. One of the reasons I would have loved to do the show. Hiking, climbing, and trying to show that the pyramids, for instance, were ancient power stations, right? Now, I don't know that I buy into that theme. I do know that they, used to be topped with gold, and there are certainly some mysteries surrounding the pyramids. But that would have been a fun show just because you're going all the way back in history. Doesn't mean I was willing to put my credibility on the line and say, they were power stations built by ancient aliens. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. Death by scarf on doorknobs. Took the words right out of my mouth. David Icke, Alex Jones. I don't know what that means. That father that's Robbie Parker. Again, I've seen it. It's bad. It's weird. It's odd. I'm not saying, I don't know what to say about that, but I certainly don't draw the conclusions that many others have. I'm just putting that out there. As if AJ has $50 million. $50 million. The punitive damages will be reduced to 1.5 because of the cap. There's a lot of cap talk here. I don't know that's in. The lip sync is off, is it? Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying here. I'm doing my best. That's all I can do. And like I said, I've had some road issues with my. This is a pretty good laptop right here. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I got a pretty good setup. I brought my board out. We're gonna try to get it all the way fixed so that everything is gravy, baby, by the time that I get to New York next weekend for the Reawaken America tour. If you're in Batavia, if you're around, I'm going to be giving my deep state lecture. The history of the continuity of government, the underground bases, the Manhattan Project, Bohemian Grove, you name it. If you've been watching this broadcast for some time, you'll have an idea. But I have to condense that into a 13 to 15 minute presentation, and I can't wait to do it because it's not about right or left to me. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of MAGA people, Republicans, etc. I'm there to break it down that it's not about right or left, and we have a permanent state. Mike Pompeo ain't your friend. Bill Barr was never your friend. I don't like John Bolton. James Mattis's face makes me sick. You get it? That's the reality. I mean, come on, John Frank. Everybody likes to joke. Thank you for your work, brother. You decide. I appreciate that. I'm trying. They don't want you to question anything. I heard today Amber Heard was a bit like Maxwell. Jeez. But when you see who her father is, it's insane. They took Pedophile by Tyson James down on YouTube. Really? Is that the new Joe Biden song? They took that one down? Mariah Myers over at Rockfin says, thanks for covering the Alex thing, Jason. They are after all of the truthers one way or another, while the pedos and the war criminals prance freely. Now, I've never considered myself a truther. I was around before that term existed. And it was just like when they took the 9/11 truth movement and then they tried to take truther in that movement and make it about conspiracy theories and saying people that wanted the truth were somehow bad. And then they associated it with everything that would be questioned. I just never, ever went along with it. I'm not a truther. I'm always searching for the truth. When I get things wrong, I'm going to tell you. That's just a fact, Jack. That's my nature. That's who I am. And I hope more and more people take that route. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't like truthers. I think they're going after, again, anybody that dares to question the narrative, period. What about Johnny Depp, the Satanist who lost his finger in a ritual? I don't know about his satanic rituals. Tell me about it. Don't know. Alex should have just said he stepped on a bee. Listen, are there comical moments to Jones in some of these court cases? I mean, you can watch the big bowl of chili thing. It's wild. Sure. But he is what he is. I'll tell you what, guys, we've been going for about an hour. I think we are going to wrap this one up. I need you to do something for me. I need you to thumbs the video up on the way out. I need you to subscribe, share, check out the documentaries, share them with others. Give them a link to Fabled Enemies so they can see Joe Biden covering up the ISI role in 9/11. Give them the link to Fabled Enemies so they can see the Mossad involvement. Give them a link to Loose Change Final Cut so they can see the physical anomalies of 9/11. Let them know about Invisible Empire, a new world order defined, so they can find out that terminology has been with us well over 100 years, and there is a predator class globalist agenda to institute one. And of course, check out Shade the Motion Picture so you can see the reality of geoengineering, bioengineering, and how Bill Gates ain't the best thing since breakfast, and we covered it over 20 years ago. I want to thank everybody for the tips. The Buy Me a Coffee is down below. That's how we're really doing it. $5, $10, $15. It means the world to me. But if you want to make that premium Rockfin subscription at $9.99 a month or lock it in at $99.99 for the year, you then get everybody on the platform's premium stuff. So even though I give away all my stuff for free, that's not the case with people like Michael Tracy or Kim Iverson or Max Blumenthal, all very good independent journalists with viewpoints outside of the mainstream, people that I think are important. So consider becoming a subscriber and supporter over there. Hopefully we'll be back for at least one more tonight. I absolutely love you guys, and I will see you on the flip side.